On today's episode of Hollyweird Paranormal, me and Brice share tales of our first paranormal experiences along with 2 listener stories. What happens when one of our listeners and his wife take a strange hike through the woods only to encounter an eerie silence, but then later discover that someone or something was following them. There are little consequences when playing with a Ouija board. And what happens when you work the graveyard shift. We talk about this and much more on episode 10 of our first paranormal experiences. Hey guys, welcome back to Hollyweird Paranormal. Hello. We're your host, Tammie Chavez.
I'm Brice Mitchell-Williams.
Welcome, and if you're new to our podcast, hola.
Hello.
Love us.
We need your love.
We do.
We're the Tinkerbells of the podcast world.
We are Tinkerbell dust. Fly away.
Clap for us.
I know.
They leave immediately. They lasted 13 seconds. Good job.
Bye. Unsubscribe.
Yeah.
So
no.
You read it right, guys. We're going to talk about our first time. I know. Do you remember your first time?
I don't have to answer that without a lawyer present. So.
Oh, I see. Your first paranormal experience, bro.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Thought this was a different podcast.
We could be
remember. Well,
we could.
Yeah. I just leave.
Look, Booze and Brews in one called ghost fucking is possible.
I'm intrigued and terrified.
I'm not.
Okay, great. Perfect. Yes, so I was telling you right before we started, I'm going to tell my actual first time.
Yeah.
And then my scariest one. The one that like really defined my...
Oh, yeah.
Or like clarified my beliefs a little bit. So we're going to do a technical, and then we're going to do like my full on, I guess you could say.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And then I'll tell mine. And we also have 2 listener stories. Thank you guys for submitting.
So cool. I love it.
We saved the best for last.
Yes.
Yeah, so proceed, Brice.
So
tell me about your first time.
You know what's weird is that my first one is actually more of an alien type experience.
Don't matter.
It don't matter. But what it really did for me was that it opened my eyes a little bit to the fact that there were more things than I understood, and that there are things that happen that can't be explained.
Isn't that scary?
And that as someone, I would consider myself a pretty logical person. When I can't explain something, what happens then?
Yeah.
And what do you do when your set of like logical rules can't justify what has happened to you, and that sort of disbelief and all of that. So I was in high school, and I was driving home with my sister in the car, so she can verify. So live tweet her to make sure this is true. And to get to our house, we lived pretty far in the country. And to get from our high school to our house, you had to cross a set of railroad tracks, and then another mile, and then another set of railroad tracks, and then our house was like a mile from. So it was track, mile, house.
This was in Ohio, right?
This is in Ohio.
Okay.
Yes. And there's a reason that I bring that up. Otherwise, who cares about the topography of where I grew up?
Well, the Midwest is pretty fucked up with paranormal
it's just
shit.
Miles and tracks. That's all it is. And lots of creepy paranormal activity. And so we had passed the first track, and we're driving, and over the second track, there's a house right there with these very large pine trees. And many times people in their cars would get hit by trains because it was really difficult to see.
Oh, no.
So the first track, you could just go over. It was clear. You would see a train coming for miles. It was fine. The second one, you really had to slow down, look, make sure that there wasn't a train coming and that you just couldn't see. And it was pretty late in the evening, probably at least 10. I think we were coming home from some kind of rehearsal. And as I had slowed down and we were going across the track, and it was completely dark, and then in the next second, it was completely light. And my first instinct was to swerve the car because I thought we were getting hit by a train.
Oh, my God.
Yes, and I remember...
What an experience.
And I saw the light, and it was all around, because I looked to my sister first, because I swerved to the left and looked to the right, because that's the direction that the light sort of appeared. Oh, and I looked at my sister, and I was so sure we were getting hit by a train. And then my brain started doing that thing where it's receiving input so quickly that it's trying to catch up with what's happening. Mm-hmm. And so I realize that it's not that she's backlit. It's as if it turned daylight. I can see her face in complete... It's everywhere. And it's like my brain is trying to process the fact that the light is all around us completely.
And FYI, guys, Brice was very straight edge in high school, so no drugs were ever taken.
No. Oh, God, no. I didn't drink until I was like well into my 20s. And now look at me. And so I swerve and I get across the tracks and right away, are you okay? Are you okay? And she just goes, what was that? Because then it goes pitch black. The car dies. The battery completely shuts off.
Oh, hell no.
And it's pitch black. And that's when my brain starts like catching up. And I realize like it literally was as if someone had turned the sun on just in our vicinity and then shut everything off.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know what happened. Start the car. It starts up. We drive home.
And you guys are in like shock. You're like trying to run.
Shock. We literally thought we were dying because it was that instantaneous that we were like, the train's, it's hitting us.
It's a UFO train.
Yeah.
It was a UFO train.
That in and of itself, weird, but not crazy. 2 nights later.
Oh, crap.
Yep, I know.
Doesn't stop.
I had dropped a friend off at her house, and the way that her neighborhood was, you had to cross these same tracks.
God damn it.
Do not go across railroad tracks.
What is the deal with railroad tracks?
Yeah.
Can someone message us about that?
Yeah, so to like get to her suburb, from like you had to like go down and then cross the tracks about a mile down from where my sister and I had that experience.
Oh, crap.
So I dropped her off. I'm coming back. I'm getting ready to go across the tracks, and I'm getting ready to turn left back towards my house. And I'm sitting there, and I turn to the left. Sorry, I keep turning away from the microphone as if I'm sitting in the car.
Having PTSD.
I really am.
Paranormal PTSD.
Ooh, PTSD. And I look to the left, and there is a pair of... I can't even explain it, but there is a person, essentially, standing about 10 feet to my left in the dark. And I had started to pull to the left, and it jarred me so much that I swerved my car, and the light catches, and the eyes are hyper reflective. And what happened is that I thought I was seeing like the reflective lights that you sometimes, like those little markers on the side of the road.
Yeah.
But my brain realized but they were horizontal to each other, whereas like the markers, it's 2 little vertical circles.
Yeah.
These are 2 horizontal eye shapes
that
are like reflective
in
a like shape of a human. And then it just was not there. And again, car dies. So now...
Oh, shit.
It's so similar, and I'm like freaking out. And I'm alone in the car this time, and I like speed home, and I'm like hysterical.
I can imagine you have Amy Grant playing in
Oh my God. By that point, I had moved on.
Baby.
Yeah, oh my God, yes. And so then the next day, there's like this sunset, which is just the most unnaturally beautiful sunset I've ever seen. Up to that point, there was one more, but it was like this beautiful, beautiful sunset. I'm like, you don't really think about the past anymore. Like when you can't explain it, you're just like, that was yesterday. It's fine. I'm over it. And I'm in my kitchen, and my mom just says, "What is that?" And literally in the sun. So like we're like looking at the sun essentially.
Great.
There's like this dot of like just black, and the whole sky is like red.
End of days.
Yeah, literally end of days. And it's like it was in the center of the sun, big enough that I was like, what is that? And then it bleeped like a little, those little heart monitor machines? It was like a slash across the side of the sun. And then it was gone. And my mom was like, what was that? And that's when I like lost my mind. I was like, I can't explain why this week has been so crazy, and it's enough things that are too interconnected. And so like anytime after that, people were like, do you believe in aliens? I'm like, yeah, I think I do.
Yeah.
Because
they exist.
I don't know how to explain it. And I like it's that war within yourself. Like, this makes me sound crazy. I can't explain it. The only thing that kind of makes sense is that, like, why was the technology in my car just being so meddled with by like It's not like I like my car never had issues. Like, it was just all these things. So I do hear a little bit how crazy it sounds, but again, just these like things that you start chaining together in hindsight, and you're like, wait a minute, like, there's too much happening here that I can't explain. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, that was like the start of, you know, growing up, we were always like, we believed in like angels and demons, like that stuff I always believed in anyway.
Yeah.
But with that, it was the first time that I was like, there's probably more happening than even I'm like willing to admit.
Yeah.
Because I can't explain it. And that was sort of like my opening of my mind.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But that always happens in a lot of these extraterrestrial cases where individuals who are in a car, they're driving along, everything's normal, they see a flash of lights, they have recorded saying the car just turned off, it lost power, or the radio acted funny. It happens. And
I would like it to never happen again. That'd be great.
I mean, did you notice like if there was like some sort of weird like lunar eclipse or a rotation or something that was going on?
Not that I recall. Again, this is now 40 years ago when I was in high school.
Insane.
Oh wait, right. That's not how old I am. Sorry. No. So yeah, this was probably around like 2002 or 3. So no, I don't remember any details in that sense. I just remember that it was like this one very specific week.
Yeah.
Of like extraterrestrial.
But
chaos.
the best thing is at least you had witnesses. You had your sister with you, and then your mom with you the next day.
And my mom was the one that really freaked me out because my sister and I both like saw it and couldn't explain it. I was like, that was really weird. But my mom saying like, "What is that in the sun?"
Yeah,
because my parents were so not affected by any kind of thing like that. So for my mom to be like also in a sense like verifying what I was seeing really freaked me out.
Insane. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I know. It's too much.
I remember you telling me about this story a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And how much it freaked me out. It still freaks me out. It gives me little chills.
Yes. So should I do my big one or should
I would do the big one.
Okay, great.
Do the big one.
Great. Let me just segue right into it.
I know.
So, and I think that the common themes are eyes. And when other people verify what I'm seeing, it's like I escape the vacuum and it all like starts happening. Yeah. And that's sort of what happened with this story as well.
You're lucky because you always had someone with you.
I know. Never go without a friend.
Never. Buddy system. Buddy.
So then this story, I was in college, so a couple years later. And where I went to school was on this really beautiful lake town, this tiny little town in Indiana. And it is the pharmaceutical capital, or I'm sorry, the orthopedic capital of the world. So like 5 of the top 10 orthopedic companies are based out of Warsaw, Indiana. And so there's a lot of money in this town. And one night, me and 2 of my friends were walking in like a very nice neighborhood right on the lake with these like big, old, beautiful houses. It was summer. It was like this beautiful summer evening on the lake. And we were just like walking and chatting. And there was this specific cul-de-sac. And from that cul-de-sac, you can get to this like big, beautiful field that in the summer had like all of these flowers, and it was like in this like clearing of this woods. And so we were kind of like meandering that way. I was like, oh, this is like kind of nice. We could go and see the field. Like, I'm sure it's really pretty. It's such a nice night. We're just like kind of wandering around. There's not a lot to do when like the only thing in your town that's open past 10 is Walmart. So you kind of have to like make your own fun. Apparently field walking is where it's at.
Field walking. We have Walmart, then field walking, and then what else is after that?
Steak and Shake? I don't know.
Cow tipping?
Ooh, we're really living the dream. And so the 3 of us are talking, and we get to the actual cul-de-sac, and the way that the trees were, like, you know, there's street lights. Yeah. It's a pretty nice neighborhood, so it's pretty well lit. And then the cul-de-sac is covered by these big, beautiful trees, but it's very dark.
Oh, no.
And it kind of is that weird thing where we all stop talking at the same time out of fear or just lull in the conversation. And we're kind of doing a wide loop of the cul-de-sac and coming to this little dirt path between the cul-de-sac and the field. And I was getting ready to say, like, let's go look at the field. Probably, like, nice stars, all of that.
Yeah.
And the difference in, again, the light, where we were, it was almost pitch black because of the trees. And the field was just bathed in moonlight to the point that, like, you could see the detail in the grass. I mean, the moon was so bright. And again, it's like my brain started, whether it's like the instincts inside of you start like fight or flight responding.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to catch up. And so I remember thinking as we like walked a little bit closer towards this path, oh no, there's a log in the way. They put a fire hydrant in. And that sentence doesn't make sense until you realize that what had happened is that there was
denial.
this, literally in denial, there was this mass at the edge of the path.
Oh, shit.
Into the field. And I saw it, and it so quickly, it looked like a log blocking the path. And then there was a portion of the mass that stayed on the ground. And a little part of it shot up so that it looked like an L shape. And it kind of did look like a fire hydrant. And then the next thought I had was, is it a deer? Because it went from that shape to the part that had sat up getting a little bit taller. And it did. It looked like a deer, like, laying down.
What?
And then,
did it have horns?
No. It was less shaped than that. And again, this is happening in the, like, literally a second of, like, there's a log. They put a fire hydrant in. Is it a deer? That's how fast my brain like was like click, click, click. And it wasn't until later that I realized that the fact that the same thing that I was seeing triggered those three very distinct objects in my mind that quickly, that was not normal. And then from that position, it shot up into the shape of like a man. And when I told you the story, I'm a very, like, even now, I'm very physical when I tell stories. And I was like, you know, when someone gets off the ground, they might put their hand on their leg or push up off the ground, or you see the motion journey of a body getting out of a resting position. That's just how our bodies work. We have joints that move in a specific way. And this was like a toaster strudel popping up. It literally went from, like, the neck and head area of what I was perceiving as a deer shot straight up into the shape of a man. And the other thing that I told you when I told you this story is that it was so bright, and yet everything that I was looking at was black. Not in the sense of a color, but in the sense of it should have been touched by the light, and it was like a void of light. And there was no distinction of clothing. Like right now I'm wearing a sweatshirt, I have headphones on. There's things in my, if I were silhouetted, that you would be like, well, this is like a man wearing headphones with a hooded sweatshirt. He's wearing, like, you could see outlines of clothing. And this looked like a bathroom man had popped up out of the ground. There was no distinguishing shape to it. It was too tall, and there was no light affecting it at all. And
run.
And at this point, I didn't say, because I you know, it happened so quickly, and then in all of this, and there's still a mound on the ground next to it.
I know.
And it pops up, and then without twisting, it's as if its whole existence shifted towards us. It jolts, and as it's looking, quote unquote, at us, that motion like almost shocked me, because it was so like mechanical and quick, in the sense that it was like at an angle to us.
Yeah.
And then it snapped, and it was like facing us directly. And that was when I felt my sort of like, oh, we're in trouble. Like, whatever I just witnessed didn't make sense, and it was happening so quickly, and I couldn't figure out how the blob was moving. And all of a sudden it snapped towards us, and I realized, like, oh fuck, we're not safe. And thank God my friend just goes, what is that?
Oh,
and
hell no.
It literally was as if her voice broke the spell because she said it and I started running. I just ran and left my friends.
You said your fight or flight.
Yeah, and it did. I was like, well, good luck, bitches. No, and I literally,
You're a great friend.
Her words, in essence, broke the spell because I realized I was like transfixed by this thing.
Yeah.
I like couldn't look away, and like I didn't realize it until I was sprinting away, and it was as if the world came crashing in around us.
Hell fucking no.
Because, you know, it was very late at night. It's this quiet summer evening. The neighborhood is completely, and it literally, the lights are going in and out. There's dogs barking on every side of us. There's like a person yelling out of their window, and in this like very nice, very quiet neighborhood. And all of a sudden it is like the world, the vacuum broke, and the sound and everything else came rushing in. And we sprinted out of the neighborhood and then like another mile to this like bridge. And I was so afraid I couldn't even turn my back to where we had run from. I was sitting on the bridge, clutching like the rails, looking, fully expecting something to come out of the darkness at us. It was so terrifying.
Oh my God.
And the next day we like combed the newspapers to see if there had been like anything discovered in that neighborhood. Or
is there someone missing a deer?
Which in Indiana is a very real concern. And obviously like there was no follow-up to that. There was never any like explanation of like what it could have been. Like, oh well, there was construction there, or there was like, it was all just like the three of us being like, did we see that? Was that real? What just happened? I think we saw a demon.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that the eyes, when it snapped to us, were the color of like burning embers.
Hell no.
And you know, when you just see like a color, I think that's all you can like register.
Right.
But when it's like, I can tell when you're looking at me because I can see your eyes.
Right.
When you just sense that something is looking at you and there's nothing to verify that other than like the terror that you feel, like, oh shit, it sees me.
Yeah.
I can't explain or describe that feeling.
Did you feel like it was evil, or did you?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. Because it's
when you know, like,
when
it's
it
like...
turned toward us, it was such a vicious, violent turn, and I'm like it triggered my, because before I was like trying to figure out, I was like, and we were kind of like still slowly like moving, like, what is that? Is it a log? Is it a deer? Like expecting the deer to run away, like this fire hydrant, like is all those things. When it snapped to us, my body was like, no, we are not safe. This is not normal.
Yeah.
And then my friend said that, and it was like that. Her words were enough.
Hell
and
no.
I don't run, like, no girl.
You're
and
like,
I'm
bye.
like sprinting out of this neighborhood. So,
yeah.
Yes.
I could just see you running in your Skechers, leaving your friend behind.
Even worse, I was wearing flip-flops, so it's like me shuffling out of this neighborhood. Ridiculous.
I wonder if that entity was like coming from the woods, or if there was some idiot like teenage boy or girl playing with a Ouija board in one of those homes. Wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, whatever the lump on the ground was a victim of some kind. I don't know what that means, but there were definitely two distinct sections of the lump, and whatever was on the ground,
hell no,
was not moving. Was
Burn
not.
It.
Yeah,
Burn
it was bad. It was not good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
At least you had a buddy with you that you eventually left.
Yeah. Thank goodness. And so
happy that if we ever do a ghost tour or anything, that you will leave me.
I will.
You will leave me.
You
will leave me.
Yep. Yep.
And if something happens to me, Brice, I will haunt you.
Good to know. At least we know where we stand.
Bitch, you left me.
I love it. Oh my god.
I will haunt your social media.
Yeah.
I will haunt your phone.
I love it. Tammie, I'm really busy right now.
Girl. Get some pants.
I will get some. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Right, so you had UFO and demon shadow person experience.
Yeah, for someone who really doesn't at the very least, I don't know what I believe, but I've had some experiences with just like, okay, I can't explain this, and I think it's a demon, and I'm gonna go now.
Bye.
Yeah, it's not great. It is not great.
Well, knock on wood, I haven't had any of those experiences. I really haven't seen anything.
Really?
I've been around things, like I felt it. I've seen it, like kind of in the corner of my peripheral, or I've heard it, but I've never really like seen a full apparition or
Wow.
Or I have seen like a mist, but I don't want to really like write it off as paranormal.
Sure.
But see, mine, I mean, growing up in New Orleans, I've never seen anything. And that was a very haunted city. I've been around people who've had many experiences. I grew up around that lore. That's why I'm always obsessed with like the paranormal. But I moved with my family. We moved to Houston when I was 12.
Okay.
And the neighborhood we moved to was in Spring, Texas. It was a cute little neighborhood. It had its own little elementary school park and a little nature trail. And it was a small neighborhood at the time. Now it's like tripled in size. I went to school with this girl in elementary school, and her family at the time owned the largest home in the neighborhood. They were one of the wealthiest families in the neighborhood. The girl would be dropped off at school in a limo. That's how wealthy they were. Her father was a doctor, and her house was like a mansion. It was a museum. It was beautiful. It even had a game room. And when I mean game room, it had game, like animal heads.
Oh, wow.
Because the father was a game enthusiast. Once a year, he would go to Africa, kill some animals, stuff them, take their heads, mount them in this room. It was crazy. He had an elephant head in the freaking home. That's how insane it was.
That seems illegal.
But the
question mark?
The craziest part is their home was built several yards away from a little graveyard.
No.
The neighborhood was built around this graveyard that dated back to the early 1800s. It belonged to a family that first settled on the land. So this little graveyard was always fenced away from, the public, but, little teens and kids would always break in and try to, summon the spirits.
No.
Always. But it was amazing how, like, around this little graveyard were homes. So when I was in school with her, she would always like tell me crazy stories, like share with me all her crazy tales. She's seen full body apparitions. There was one night where she woke up and she saw a man knocking on her window in a top hat and mustache. And I even remember my sister and I, we were in Girl Scouts. Her troop went to research on the graveyard because they, once a year, the Girl Scout troop of that area would go in and, do the maintenance.
Aww.
And they would do a little research.
Sweet.
It was sweet. And they would do research. My sister came home and she was like, hey, is this the guy that so-and-so saw? She pulls out a picture. It's a guy with a mustache and a top fucking hat, dude. I showed my friend the picture and she freaked out. She's like, that's the guy that I saw that one night out of my window, and her room is on the second floor. Like, it was intense. And her brother saw the same person one night when he was at home with his girlfriend. They were watching movies. He saw a full body apparition of a man in a morning suit, top hat, and mustache walk through this little play area that was in the backyard. And he thought someone was like lost or it was someone breaking into their home. No, he walked through the little playhouse and disappeared.
Maybe he just really wanted Girl Scout cookies.
Probably.
Oh, God.
But he was heading towards the direction of the graveyard.
Oh, my God.
It was insane. And I remember even like visiting her house, spending the night there. You could see the graveyard quite clearly if you're on the second level of the home. You could see it a little bit clearly if you're in the first level, but it was right there. Now, a lot of the activity ceased when the family decided, or the neighborhood decided, to build another fence that separated the land between their house and the graveyard. So a lot of it did cease. But every now and then, like, she would still share stories with me at school of like, oh, well, I was studying and I heard the blow dryer go on, or I would wake up and for some reason the blinds in my room were all open when I know for a fact I closed them the night before.
No.
Yeah, it was like little things like that. So this was like my first big experience in the house that really scared us. So I was a junior in high school. She had already transferred to another high school, but we were always like in touch and still friends. So one evening she invites me over to her house. We go out shopping. We had dinner with her mom. Her father and her brothers were away on their hunting trip, their annual hunting trip in Africa, and they weren't due back for another 5 days. So we get home, we change into our jammies. Her mom goes to sleep around 9:30, and we stayed up watching movies. Now, the way her house was kind of set up on the first, second level, we were watching movies on the second floor loft. In order to get to the loft, one of the ways you could get to the loft is through the study. So the study had 2 entrances in the first level. There were these 2 French doors. You can only lock them in the inside. Rich people know the issues. We locked ourselves inside the study, and we turned off all the lights. We go up this little metal staircase. It's this spiral metal staircase that takes you to the second floor loft that grants you access to the second floor rooms. So we were in the loft. We're watching movies. It's already 2:30. We're like, we have enough energy for a second one. Yeah, let's do it. So as she's popping the tape inside the VHS, because at that time, we were watching VHS.
Living the 90s.
We were. I asked her, I was like, has anything else happened in the house? And she said, surprisingly, no. And I then responded to her with, well, maybe they forgot about you guys. And we started laughing, and I'm not even kidding. Right after we laughed, we heard what sounded like books falling onto the ground.
No.
It sounded like someone grabbed or pushed a bunch of books from the table, and they just, like, you can hear the collapse onto the ground.
Oh my God.
And I remember seeing books on the table, but they were nicely organized on the table. They weren't on the edge or anything. They were just, like, nicely arranged. And we just looked at each other. Like, we had looks of terror. Like, what the fuck was that? Did you set the alarm? Yeah. Okay. And I was thinking, does your mom sleepwalk? No. Okay. What about cats? You have 3 cats. Where are they? They're all outside.
No.
Oh, fuck. And then we started to hear what sounded like footsteps coming up the metal staircase. She looks at me again, grabs my arm. It's like this look of, I know what the fuck is going on. We're getting out of here. She grabs my arm. We go through the guest room, and then we go straight into her room. We shut the doors behind us. We lock ourselves in her room. We're just like trying to catch our breath, trying to figure out and process what the fuck we just heard. And I'm just thinking, okay, could it be someone that was in the house? No, they had a fancy alarm system. There was sensors. I mean, we could have heard a sensor go off, the alarm go off. I'm like, okay, but your brothers and your dad, they don't come back for another 5 days. Like, we have your mother downstairs. Like, we got to go check on her. We have to figure this out. We got to, like, MacGyver Nancy Drew this shit right now. Her brother's room, fortunately, was right next to hers. In order to get to it, you go through her bathroom. They shared a bathroom. Her brother, played sports. He was a big baseball enthusiast, so he had baseball bats in his room. So she grabs a baseball bat. I grabbed the phone and the hairspray. I was just thinking, like, okay, what would MacGyver do?
I love it.
What would he do?
WWMD.
I know. I was thinking, well, I could spray if there's an attacker or a robber, I could spray him in the face. You could whack him over the head. I have the phone. I could 911 this thing. Yeah. So we decide to go down the stairs. We turn on all the lights to the living room. Everything's fine. In order to turn on, you can also turn on the lights in the study from outside. So we turned on the lights. There's nothing there. Of course, there's nothing at that point. We just ran. But the most eerie part is there was nothing on the ground.
No.
There's nothing on the ground. So we check on her mom. Her mom's fine, passed out. We turn on all the lights in the freaking house. We do a sweep. Nothing. Everything is in its place. We look outside. The cats are outside. Nothing. Nothing's there. So we're just scratching our heads. Okay, we don't have to call the cops. We turn off all the lights. We head upstairs. Okay, we got to go check the loft. We got to check the rooms. We got to do this. She's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to like go to sleep and have some stranger or some idiot who was hiding in this house like attack us. So we go through the rooms. Nothing. We go through the loft. Nothing. We enter the loft and then go down the staircase to the study. Nothing is on the ground. Nothing is on the floor of the study. All the books are in its place. They're all on the shelves. The books that I remembered that were like nicely and neatly placed on the table, they're all there. There was nothing there. We were just like, what could that have been? And I asked her, I'm like, do you ever hear any strange shit that happens in here? She's like, no, So we just couldn't go to sleep that night. It was 3:30 in the morning. We just like could not go to sleep. So we just stayed up, talked. I think we probably got at least 1 hour of sleep. But I mean, that really did scare the crap out of us.
The fact that it was coming up the stairs.
That is what, oh God. No. She looked at me. She had this look. There was another occurrence that happened to us that was kind of like that, but she had this look of, I know what that is. Get the fuck out.
Oh God, that's so scary.
Yeah. It was a little intense, but like now we laugh about it. We're like, yeah, remember that time? Don't talk about it.
No, I don't.
No, but I noticed like even the thing that occurred afterwards too, we had 2 other girls with us. When we talked about it and laughed about it is when it came back to cause some trouble. Like, hey, bitches, I'm still here.
Don't forget me.
Yeah. Forever here kind of thing.
Gross.
Yeah, it's intense. It was insane. So yeah, that was our first kind of unexplainable experience. I mean, there was nothing that we could validate for the reason why we heard those things occur in the study. But it was scary. Like I legit heard footsteps coming up that staircase. I heard it with her, and that look that she had, I will never forget it. So that was my first paranormal story.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
So we shared you guys our first paranormal experiences. We have a few that were shared with us.
Yes.
So we have 2 stories here. Bryce, you have one?
Yes, I do.
Who's it by?
This is from Jonathan, and it's called Silence in the Woods.
Jonathan, your name in Spanish is Juanathan.
Ooh,
I know.
We're very
multicultural. I know.
All right, here we go. Silence in the Woods. Ooh. Hey, I really enjoy the show. I saw your Instagram post about sharing paranormal experiences and wanted to share this personal one with you.
Share away.
A few years ago, my wife, brother-in-law Sam, and I took our 4 dogs on a walk to Sweetwater Creek State Park here in Metro Atlanta. The park is entrenched in Cherokee Native history, who were upended and sent upon the Trail of Tears, yes, a horrible time, as well as Civil War history. There is a museum with many artifacts from both times on display, as well as massive ruins from the old textile factory that was destroyed during Sherman's March and destruction of Atlanta. A real fascinating place, as well as a hotbed for paranormal activity. I mean, how could it not be? Like, that is layers
bad juju.
Of paranormal cake.
Bad juju layers.
Contrary to these last few statements, none of these events were on our minds when we set out to take our dogs on a walk. Good. That would be a very sad walk. Yes.
Challenge. We'll accept it.
I love it. There are several hiking trails to choose from, ranging from easy, the most popular, to strenuous, rarely traveled. Since we were wanting to let our dogs off their leash, we chose the latter, a trail titled the Yellow Trail. This particular trail is separate from all the other trails, brings us over a large bridge into the woods and up a steep, rocky hill. Halfway up the hill, my wife and I let our dogs off their leash and allowed them to chase after my brother-in-law while we held back. It was mainly an experiment to see how far they'd go before they realized we weren't with them. Turns out that they would go on forever. My wife and I continued hiking up the hill, talking about how surprised we were that the dogs never turned around to see if we were following, as they're rather loyal, or at the very least have come back to find us. We had finally crested the top of the hill and started to become a little worried that we couldn't hear nor see Sam and our dogs. Not only that, a strange, eerie silence seemed to fall all around us. No birds, no trees rustling, no scampering about, just my wife and my feet walking along the trail. It almost felt like our ears were clogged by how silent the woods had become. We began to call after our dogs as well as out to Sam, all to no avail. The atmosphere felt thick and heavy when a few minutes before it was a crisp autumn morning. We got to a point in the trail where we could look down the hill and see parts of the trail that we would eventually get to, and there, sitting on a bench, was my brother-in-law and our dogs. Oh, good. I was like, no, the dogs. Leave dogs out of it.
Oh, my God. When you get dogs involved.
I know.
Man.
My wife called down to him in frustration, asking if he heard us calling to him, to which he replied that he hadn't. On hearing her voice, our dogs whipped around as if they didn't even know that we were there and happily ran up the slope to greet us. Immediately,
thank God they found the dogs.
I know, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Immediately, it was like the fog had lifted. Nature sounds came flooding back in, the atmosphere felt clear, and we had our dogs back.
Yay.
We called down to Sam that we were going to continue on the trail and for him to wait there for us to come around to him. Everything went well until we got to Sam, who asked my wife who that man was that was standing with us at the top of the trail.
Stop.
No. Oh my God.
Oh no. My favorite murder had stated this is a saying from their podcast, is never go into the woods. Never go into
I've never been scared to finish a sentence before, and that just terrified me.
I know. I read it, and I was like, wait, let me go back. God. What in the effing mother of F?
Oh, my God. My mouth is so tingly right now. Okay. Everything went well until we got to Sam, who asked my wife who that man was that was standing with us at the top of the trail. Stunned, we answered that there wasn't a man with us and proceeded to tell him about our experience on the trail and how quiet it had become, and that if there had been a man, we most certainly would have seen or heard him, especially if he were as close to us as my brother-in-law said he was. I honestly don't think I can finish this email. Okay. Regardless of our denials, he insisted that there was an older man with a long gray beard standing with us at the top of the trail.
I'm sure if the friend was like, Peepaw.
Oh,
right?
no.
Like, who's the old dude?
Your
face.
I literally...
I know. When I was reading this, I just had to like do a double take. I'm like, I'm going to start from this paragraph. What?
Oh my God.
Brice cannot finish it.
Shocked. Okay.
Jonathan, this is a scary story.
If Brittany can get through 2007, I can
get
through
this email. Okay. Brice, I'm with you.
Needless to say, our experience, coupled with the history of the park, most definitely had to have been paranormal. I'm shocked that my wife and I weren't even scared, and how could you not? I mean,
I know.
You brave souls. And have since gone back in hopes to oh my God! In hopes to replicate the situation, which has yet to happen, sadly. I hoped you enjoyed my tale in the woods. Sincerely, Jonathan.
That's an understatement. I think we
stop trying to replicate it. Oh my God, I'm so terrified for you.
I mean, the silence is what's scarier. It's the silence in the woods, and then the fact that you just noticed like no one else was around you, and then you had another person, validate, hey, there was another person behind. Like I could see a full body.
Oh my God,
image of a man with a beard.
That is
following you.
So crazy. Hikes. You need to find a better hiking trail.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Nix that one out of your list.
But that's so funny that this is the first one we read, because that feeling of like the world rushing back in, it's almost like a void.
It is.
And then the world like backs.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you're hyper aware of like every sound and all like that resonates with me so much, of just like, then all of a sudden we hear all these birds and all the chatter and the forest. It's like it refills the vacuum.
Yes.
That's
a good way to put it. It's like a vacuum. I even responded to our Jonathan. Because I read about this. I read something about this a long time ago, and I mentioned something about it's a panic or God's pan, and it's spelled like PANIC. It's a panic or a feeling that ensues in a person when they enter the woods that were, I guess, inhabited by Native Americans. And Native American folklore once stated, and it's in the books, that there are gods and spirits of the woods and animals, and they worshiped them and respected them. And there are times where these spirits of the woods would set a panic in whoever entered it, and that panic would cause them to leave the woods if they meant to do the woods harm. And another thing too, the silence, that's also a second kind of episode that happens with the panic, because it's like a void. They're entering a void, and that void is the heart, the main membrane of like whatever, I guess, spiritual energy is around them.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that's what they pretty much set foot into. They experience panic.
That is insane.
I was so excited when I read it.
That is not the first adjective that I would pick, but yes. Oh my God. I'm having like a full-on meltdown right now.
It's even like stated in some of the Lord of the Rings books too, like something like this happens when some of the characters go into like a wood-like forest, like they have a panic. So it's scary. That was a really good story. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. Don't go hiking. I think we can all agree that's the moral of this story.
That's intense. Never go into the woods. Never go into the woods. I mean, they had buddies. They had dogs. That's intense.
Oh my God. Oof. So, I just went on a journey. Oof.
And you came out of that.
I did it.
All right, our second, we have two little short stories here from our listener and fan, Erica Schultz.
Hi.
She's so sweet. We do communicate back and forth on Instagram. She's really awesome. So she sent us two little stories. So her first experience, one of them is one experience, I was made the mistake of playing with a Ouija board.
Oh, Erica,
girl, don't do it.
Sweet, beautiful fool. No.
You don't do it.
Oh.
It was the middle of the summer and it was hot. 2 fingers on my left hand were on the planchette. The nail beds on my fingers were turning purple, and a friend who was watching us touched the top of my hand. She said it felt like my left hand had been a freezer. At the same time, I was having pain from my wrist to my elbow. I believe that whatever or whoever we were communicating with somehow was responsible for that.
No.
No. Watch the movie Veronica.
Yeah.
Just watch it.
Well, and temperature is such a, like, that's one of the things that I feel like always
you never
forget.
Like, yeah.
You walk into these, like, cold spots, and that is such a common, like, oh, no.
Yeah. Don't do it.
No.
You just don't do it. You don't play with Ouija boards. But yeah, she was like, I made the mistake,
Sure.
never again. But I mean, she was lucky. She got out unscathed. I mean, she had the feels, but thank goodness nothing stayed with her.
Oh my goodness.
Number 2.
Oh.
This is a short one. I work as a security guard. I was doing mobile patrols, and one of the businesses that I was locking up sometimes had weird things happen. One night while locking up, I was on the second floor heading down a hallway to check the last door. The rest of the building was already locked, and I was the only one there. I saw the door in front of me open by itself. It slowly opened halfway, stayed there for about 1 minute, and slowly closed.
No.
Yeah.
A courteous ghost.
A courteous
no.
ghost. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me. I stood there and watched it. I walked up to the door to check it. It was locked. Couldn't debunk it. Hope you enjoy. Erica Schultz.
Oh my God.
That's intense. To me, when you're a security guard, you're doing the graveyard shift.
Yes.
In every sense of the word graveyard shift, you don't know what is coming out.
Oh my goodness.
You don't know what's there with you when you think you're by yourself. That's insane.
Oh man. I'm gonna not be able to sleep tonight.
I know. That's crazy. These stories were wonderful. Thank you so much, guys, for submitting them. We really do appreciate it. And guys, if you do have any stories that you like to share with us, don't hesitate to email them to us at hollyweirdparanormal@gmail.com. We love to receive these stories. Me, not so much, Brice.
I would say you can send us your stories and then I will freak out during them. It's amazing. It's a really fun game.
You said it yourself. If Brittany could survive 2007, you can survive this little stories, okay?
Jonathan, you really have given me an experience I've never been afraid of written text.
I wish there was a camera. I wish I could record your facial expressions.
I got afraid of an email. I really can check that off my bucket list today. I did something.
That's insane. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Hollyweird Paranormal. You can find us and stalk us at Instagram at Hollyweird Paranormal and Facebook at Hollyweird Paranormal. We're also on Podbean, Podbay, PodKnife. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. If you find us on Apple Podcasts, please leave a little review. Give us some ratings. Give us some words. They really do help us indie podcasters out. You can also find us on Twitter at HWP Podcast. We also have one very important spiritual bae I want to do a shout out to. That is Liz Sauer from Ghost in the Burbs.
Love it.
Okay, like after listening to this, go listen to her.
I know.
You think that these were scary? Let me tell you about Liz Sauer. A homegirl is the housewife from Wellesley, Massachusetts. She actually records on her, she has a blog, she records stories from that town, from people of that town, like ghost stories, actual ghost stories. They're intense.
That's insane.
I thought Hollywood was crazy. Wellesley, Massachusetts is crazy.
I love it.
It's craze. Or she calls it the Swells.
Oh my God.
I feel like that's a reality show that's in the works. Yeah. Liz, get on that.
Yeah.
But much props to her. I really enjoy, chatting with her on social media. She's dope as F. Yes. So definitely check her out. Ghosts in the Burbs. So she is our biggest bae. Well, Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed these stories. Don't forget to say hi to us on social media and just drop a line on our Gmail, okay?
Yay.
And we'll be back soon to deliver a big final story.
Yes.
Brice, you want to tell them what it is?
Yes, our season finale.
Yes.
We are going to do the mother of all actresses.
Yes.
The one, the only, Marilyn Monroe.
Yay!
Yes. Yeah, we touched on her a little bit.
Oh, that was a teaser.
It was a teaser, kind of unexpectedly, because that's the thing, is she is rife with paranormal. There's so much conspiracy. There's so much U.S. history, as you were talking about.
Of course.
It's the Kennedys, it's her acting, it's the Strasbourg School, it's her final days, it's the drug conspiracy, it's her hauntings, it's everything.
It's so juicy. We cannot end this season without that episode. And the reason why we have to take a little hiatus is because we have to deal with a lot of students at our job.
And because I'm terrified of emails now. So.
Yeah. Brice has had a very interesting time at work.
He needs some time.
But it's usually part of April, and all the way through May. It's very intense at our job. Yes. And if we're going to do an episode, we want to make sure that we have everything well versed in research. You guys know you always have to be prepared, and we just have to be focused for that. And we just want to make sure that, we'll come back to you guys with even juicier stories. Yes. So we'll be back in June. Trust me, we will be, because summer for us is like chill.
Yeah.
So chill. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay weird.
Bye.
Bye.